But the next game, the one that Diane talked about with the draw, was of course the D's and the Hawks. The Hawks able to pull this one off as they score to tie within the last minutes of the game, and Melbourne, I I would say technically, I mean they almost blew a lead. It would have been worse if they lost, but they still a draw. They blew almost a 30-point lead in the second term of this one. You had Bailey Fritsch leading the D's in this one with three goals kicked. Petrarca finishes with just one behind in this one. So when you got a team that's been struggling as of late, I mean, they had a little bit of a bounce back game last round, but overall, recently, they've been struggling offensively. When you got your stars like Christian Petrarca, you're going to you need those guys to reliably put up two goals a game if you want to win and if you want to have real competition here at the flag. And this, maybe I don't want to get too far ahead of myself by saying this, but Melbourne, especially as the top team on the ladder, they're getting dangerously close to pretender level vibes where they're here. They're at the top. They almost remind me of Port Adelaide of last season. Well, because they were at the top of the ladder the entire year. Melbourne's been at the top of the ladder damn near the entire year. But are they the team that instills the most amount of confidence in them? No, they are not. It's been mostly due to these recent offensive problems, and now I'll give you about 80 to the Hawks. Maybe your defense, which is what you pride yourself on, is seeing some minor flaws that might be able to be, I guess, pinpointed a little bit better by these upper echelon teams, the teams near or who you're going to be playing in the finals. So if I'm Melbourne right now, I'm actually a little bit worried at this point.
Here's where perception and reality kind of blend a little bit. Okay, the perception, everybody's like, well, Melbourne's struggling. Melbourne's struggling. Okay, well, if we look at it, okay, the teams that they've lost to, let's go through it: Adelaide, GWS, and then this draw with Hawthorn. Am I correct on
And
that?
also Collingwood.
And Collingwood.
They got that Collingwood in the last game for
Yep. Okay, there are three losses. So Adelaide, Collingwood, GWS.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at it right now,
and that GWS was their draw 1-1 on the season in games, so they split the series.
Mm-hmm, exactly. But here's the thing, though. Look at it: 16th, 12th, and 15th are their losses. But if you notice, look in the top eight: beat Essendon, beat Sydney, beat Brisbane, they beat Port, they beat Geelong, they beat the Western Bulldogs. So is this that they're fading, or is it that maybe they're taking the lower teams lightly, but they're stepping up in the games that are big time, like the Western Bulldogs, like the Geelong Cats, like Port, like Brisbane? So I'm not jumping on this Melbourne shaky. They may not would. No, because if you look at it, they've won the games they need to win against the teams around them. The only issue I see, and I've seen this discussion talked about, and I agree with it, maybe Melbourne's getting a little ahead of themselves. Again, I don't know this. I'm just it's what it looks like is that I think they're getting ahead of themselves. They are going into some of these games like Adelaide, like GWS, like Collingwood, thinking, well, we're going to win this, so we aren't going to have to try to play our best. And they've paid for it. So, I mean, it's not like Hawthorn had a spectacular game. I mean, this was not even the full-strength Hawthorn team. This is a Hawthorn team that has a ton of it, that has injuries in some very key areas. So, I don't know really how to answer this one, because if I look at the fact that I care about more is how have they performed against the teams right now. If the finals were to start today, how have they done against all the finals teams? Well, they're undefeated against all the finals teams right now.
Isn't that the interesting thing about this team? Do you put more weight into their wins or more weight into their losses? And although you probably want to side with the wins, there's a lot of people, I mean, it might be damn near 50-50 on your mindset on this one, because you have really good wins, but you also have some poor losses. And
but I know, and that's like I said, that's it.
This
Some of these
team's weird,
discussions,
man. I think can we at least agree on that? This
they,
demons team is weird.
exactly, and that's why they said, is it an attitude thing? Are these players coming in with an attitude that they don't think they should try really hard against the bad teams, and they get up and get after the teams that are in and around the finals teams. So we'll have to see. I also think teams are starting to figure. I think some of the teams in the eight need to look at what Alistair Clarkson did for Hawthorne, because he really exposed Lever and May in this game. And if any of the eights, that's why I'm very intrigued by the Western Bulldogs playing him this week. Very, very intrigued, because I think Alistair Clarkson and a few of these coaches have given you a tiny bit of the playbook on how to attack Lever and May that may change Melbourne's fortunes in the finals if some of these teams start doing that. And that is to not let them be free, and that's to body one-on-one them in the offensive 50, so then they cannot get run and jump free to intercept mark the footy. So the easiest way to describe this is that they're always shoulder to shoulder with the defender that's defending them. So if you've got Lever or May, you do not leave them. You do not let them get away from you. You stay with them at all times. You force them to stay with you. And you don't go out the back. You don't lead forward. You stay shoulder to shoulder, and you force them to play one-on-one defense, which they are both not the greatest one-on-one defenders. May's a little bit better at one-on-one defending than Lever is. Lever is more of the intercept player. So if you can force Lever to stay shoulder to shoulder with you and make it a contest, I think it gives you an advantage, especially if you can tap the ball down from that to oncoming forward players or oncoming midfielders to then attack the empty spaces in the 50. So
Mm-hmm.
I think Alistair may have given the Western Bulldogs and some of the teams in the finals a little bit of a cheat sheet on maybe how to take down this dynamic combination in the back for the Melbourne Demons.
Got a huge game next round. We'll see if they can prove themselves and kind of right the ship, at least maybe not to them, but to a lot of the people looking at them.